So once you've selected the large money center banks and other large institutions to manage your liquid securities, we want to think about the other parts of your portfolio: real estate, private equity, venture capital. These types of managers are harder to find. They're not on a big bank platform. And how are you going to find the best deals? This is where having your family office and interacting with other family offices will allow you to start to develop a network of people who will send deals to your chief investment officer. Ideally, you want to have a chief investment officer who has already worked in the family office arena, so he or she has that network of people and will start to get the kinds of deals that you want. I always say there's a million ways to make money. Perhaps you love real estate, perhaps you love biotech, perhaps you love social impact. It doesn't really matter. Find those deals that make you excited, that really fit with the family, with their expertise, with what they're happy to do, and go in that direction. How much you plan to put into private deals versus publicly traded securities depends on a lot of factors. One thing to consider is that if you want to do direct private investments versus through the fund type vehicles, which is a trend today with family offices, understand that you're going to have enough staff available either on an internal or external basis to properly monitor these kinds of deals. It can be very time consuming, for example, to invest in a seed round. You can spend hundreds of hours going over shareholder agreements, creating documents, putting their books in orders, and at the end of the day, you've only invested, let's say, $250,000. So although a lot of families say, I just don't want to pay the venture capitalists their fees, they think they're too expensive, I'd rather do directs, understand that doing directs means having a staff that can handle doing the work of making direct investments appropriately and effectively. Our next topic that we need to think about is risk. Because one thing that most family offices want to do is not lose their money. They have made money, this is why they have enough money now to have a family office, and they don't want to lose their money. So how do we assess and manage risk? Your chief investment officer needs to really delineate what he or she thinks your major risks are and address those risks. Beyond market risk, for example, it could be country risk. Are you living in a country with an unstable political situation or a changing political situation? Perhaps your biggest risk mitigation move is to move some of your money to a different country, to spread your assets around the world. That might be number one for you where you live. Perhaps your number one problem is going to be tax risk. You're in a high tax jurisdiction and you have to manage the tax risk by taking certain types of steps to legally comply with tax rules but minimize the effect of taxes on the growth of your wealth. Or perhaps your biggest risk is going to be concentration risk because you've only ever done one thing and 90% of your assets are in that particular field, and that field is changing. Let's take the field of media. 10 years ago, people that own media properties had a valuation that's probably 10 or 100 times greater than it is today because media properties have gone way down in value. So your risks may be very particular to your family, in addition to the general risks of the stock markets and the bond markets around the world. And it's important that you look at those risks clean and square in the eye and decide how you're going to address them. It is impossible to make more money if you don't take risks. So it's not about not taking risks. It's about understanding your key risks and addressing them straight ahead. When it comes to looking at managers and evaluating money managers to run any particular part of your portfolio, it's important to do a lot of upfront work. I have a very detailed process for intaking manager information. And once you set up your single family office, you are going to get pitched deals constantly. It may be happening already. In my case, I'm getting at least 500 to 1,000 pitches a month. So how do we handle the volume? It's important to create the intake process that will work for you. In my case, I have a website, and on the website I direct managers to send their information to a segregated mailbox. Once I get that information is evaluated and put into a database where we can divide the type of investment it is into the right sector. And then I tell the managers, unless I have money to put to work in your sector, I'm not going to interview you. And why is that? You could spend your entire life interviewing money managers and never get any other work done. And by the time you're ready to invest money, things may have changed and you have to re-interview them.